And to me, what it feels like when I come into presence, like true presence, the way of presence, is it's just expansion. It just feels like a open, flat plane of existence. That's what it feels like to me. That when I come into this place, everything opens up. Everything becomes open. And there's an infinite field of potential. And all I have to do is elevate my consciousness to there. And then in that place, I will receive what it is that I need to receive. The way of presence, the fifth way of oneness. Now, today I'm going to start by reading out a little couple sentences from, we're on page 77 from the Universal Ways of Oneness by Rachel Fiori. And I'm going to start by reading this little part about presence. When you can be fully divinely present, you are offering the feminine aspect of openness. To be open is to be in the energy of receiving. To be open is to be free from running programs like judgment, resistance, or separation. To be open is to be divine. It is divine feminine energy that is open, receiving and freely flowing. This is the energy of divine presence. To be in presence is to be nothing and everything all at once. Incredible, right? So, the way of presence. This is one of my favorite ways. It's funny to have favorites. I know it's kind of silly, but I've just been working with this way a lot over the past year. And because I've realized, obviously, I lack so much presence in my life. And why do I lack so much presence? Well, to be able to arrive at the way of presence, this is what I've learned, like to be able to get there, to what Rachel is talking about and teaching, means I have to be open to receive, right? How can I receive all of the information, all of the psychic gifts, all of the magic that is here to offer, right? How can I be open to receive that when I'm not willing to open to everything, right? She says at the end there, right? To be present is to be nothing and everything all at once. So presence, one of the things that I've heard her teach about a lot is how you become the observer, right? You're both the receiver. It's like this way feels to me, seems like it opens the door to receive. And how can I receive everything that I'm here to receive? How can I receive the guidance from my soul? How can I receive guidance from a more enlightened, more elevated teacher? How can I receive the guidance that's coming through somebody else that's my soul and their soul communicating to me as a human Danny, right? How can I receive that guidance from my higher self when I'm not open to simply feel everything that's here? So this is where it helps me really understand that like these ways come in a sequential order. They don't it's not a rigid like structure of you have to go 1, 2, 3 up to 20, right? But number 3 is the way of surrender. So if I'm resisting in some level, feeling something, how can I arrive at the way of presence? I can't, because I'm resisting feeling what is. And this is something that I've learned a lot, especially as a coach, as somebody who guides people through their own journeys of transformation and through this work, is that if I don't have the ability to just sit in presence and feel everything that is coming up in the session, if I lack the ability to do that and I'm running programs of I don't want to feel that, right? This is how we as coaches, we can limit ourselves in our consciousness, because we're guiding people through the energetic transformations, and it's happening at the level of consciousness. So if me as a coach, if I'm not willing to go to a certain place, how the heck can I guide someone else there, right? So it's my responsibility to be able to really achieve the way of presence, a baseline, right? Not, I know there's so many levels to it. There's like 12 levels to achieve within each way. But to achieve the baseline frequency of that first level, just to be present with whoever's sat in front of me, to not be running programs of resistance and going up into my mind, right? This is where, when we are truly the way of presence, we're not thinking, we're present. We're grounded in our heart. Now, I can honestly share, my parents growing up, they were not present. They were not present in the present moment with themselves. Why? Because they were running all of their programs. So this is where our programs, they cause us to create suffering. They also cause indirect harm, because if I'm not present with myself, how can I then offer that divine level of presence to my child who needs it? I get this same level with my beautiful animals, who are all right here. I get this beautiful lesson that every time that I take them out, if I'm on my phone, right, how can I offer them the presence that they need to give them the right guidance? I can't. It results in one of them pulling, or one of them, eating something, or, doing something it shouldn't be, or getting into food that it shouldn't be getting into. Or I have to activate the way of presence every time I take them out, because I am their divine teacher in this lifetime. They're also a divine teacher to me in many ways, but you get the point, right? So when we lack this way of oneness, when I lack the way of presence, it's because I'm going up into my head and I'm not able to feel everything that's here in the present moment. And this is where I've lived most of my life. That's a hard truth to admit, is that I have lacked, and still lack in ways, of course, and we're going to get into that in this video. I have lacked the ability to just be in presence with reality, with life, right? And this obviously is where addiction comes in, right? And this is something that I've struggled with to a degree throughout most of my life, is addictive tendencies. Now, for me, the way this manifested was through alcohol, mainly growing up. It wasn't like I would wake up every day and want a drink, right? But I lacked the ability, in especially social situations, or just throughout certain chapters of my life, to simply just sit and be in presence with everything that is here. If uncomfortable feelings started to come up, I was too powerless and weak to handle them. And so I would either resort to my addictive tendencies of alcohol, or going up into my mind and start thinking, like getting completely lost and trapped in the mental fuckery of my mind, right? Which only leads to suffering, right? That's why we have so much mental illness on the planet, something that I really felt like I struggled with years ago. And it's because I was trapped in my mind. I didn't know how to get out of it and simply live as the way of presence, right? And I'm not by any means a master or the teacher of this. That's Rachel. This is Rachel's work that I am actively becoming as both a student and a coach in this work. I get to work on activating and embodying these ways because I want to become every single way of oneness, because I can feel the divinity that they are. Okay. And when I arrive truly at the way of presence, and sometimes when I'm being guided, right, and I'm in class and maybe Rachel's doing an activation, I can feel myself often like going through, it's almost like one of those pinball machines, like the ball bouncing around and it hits another block and then I hit resistance. I've got to open and surrender, and then eventually I arrive at this place and it is pure tranquility. That is when I've really, really activated this way and gone into an elevated and what I feel like is an enlightened state of consciousness. A place that I've touched here a few times, I would never want to come back from. I would want to live my life from this place for eternity. It was so beautiful, so tranquil, so peaceful that I was able to go inside my heart and then feel this level of my divinity. And we all have the opportunity and potential to do this every day. Like, this is the work, right? What blocks us from feeling that enlightened frequency? All of our programs, all of our wounds. And if you were like me and you had parents that did lack presence, and this isn't to shame them or judge them, right? I lacked presence when I first was caretaking for my 3 animals, and I still lack presence. I was just on the phone with my girlfriend today, and I wasn't being fully present, and she brought it to my awareness, and I was like, you know what, you're right. Let me stop what I'm doing and just drop in and become the way of presence and just listen from my heart, listen from my soul. And when I'm able to do that, the level of divinity that I'm able to bring to myself and other beings, it's incredible. And that's why this way of oneness to me has been so powerful to learn to become. I think because there was so much lacking throughout most of my life. And one of the ways that I've been developing this is through one of my hobbies. I like to build and paint little miniatures. And I find myself when I'm in this state of creation with these miniatures and I build and I paint them, I enter, it's obviously a form of creative artistic expression, and I enter this state of just being fully locked in and fully there. And it's funny because my partner really enjoys talking to me whenever I'm doing that hobby, because I really am, even though I'm not looking at her, energetically I'm so present. And it has taught me now, okay, don't just rely on this hobby to feel the way of presence. This is where we have to integrate and become. That's what, these teachings are all about. They're all about actually integrating these enlightened frequencies into our daily life. It isn't just about becoming the way of presence by going up, because this is the spiritual matrix, going up onto a mountain and giving away all of my possessions and shaving my head. And if you want to do that and become a monk, great. But if that's the only way that I can activate the way of presence and be present with myself is by not having anything or not being around anyone, I lack true integration. Right? And so what I found is a way more, 10 times, million times more advanced level of the way of presence is beautiful. If you can achieve that at the top of the mountain, I went to Thailand a couple of years ago, love that place. And Ellie and I climbed up sunrise. It was so beautiful. Did this like monk's trail up the mountainside, watched the sunrise. Oh, beautiful, tranquil. We dropped in, we did lots of meditating, amazing. But then now, how can I bring that experience into my daily life? Because that's when it really counts. So one of the things that I want to talk about today is where I used to lack a lot of presence, and what it created was I always used to say, I can't trust myself. I can't trust myself. I can't trust what I feel. And this started from young. And this started because I would hear one thing from my parents, and then I would ask them about it. Or I would hear them arguing and I would ask them about it. Is everything okay? And I could tell that they were lying, and they were like, yeah. So I learned from a really young age, this is what parents do. They're not going to divulge to their 3-year-old child the emotional turmoil that they're in as a couple, right? Of course they're not going to do that, right? But at 3 years old, I started to internalize what I'm feeling doesn't match what they're telling me, therefore I can't trust what I feel. And that lack of trust has only snowballed over the years and years and years. Now, what I had a huge realization on this year is it's not that I lacked trust. I did. But it was whenever we're talking about psychic things and feeling other people's energy and reading other people's energy, just like I was doing with my parents, I lacked the way of presence. Now, why did I lack the way of presence? Well, I wasn't powerful enough to feel what I was feeling from my parents when I was a child. Because what I was feeling from my parents was so scary to me that, oh my God, they're really angry at each other. One, that's really violent and scary energy for my tiny little 2-3-year-old self. And two, if they're fighting and arguing, they might break up. Holy shit. What if they break up? If they break up, then I'm going to be completely alone. And that, to me as a child, was so scary to think about. What if everything isn't okay? And this is one of the programs but that used to come out all of the time whenever I would do psychedelic drugs like MDMA or psychedelic mushrooms. There was a program that would run when anxiety would come up that I'm not okay. And I found the root was these experiences of me starting to freak out and realize, oh my God, if my parents break up, I'm not going to be okay. This is all this survival energy. And so I wasn't willing to, because I didn't know how to feel all of that. That was so scary to me. Oh my God, I might not be okay. All of the panic, all of the survival, all of the scary feelings of people being angry in its violent nature. I can't feel that. Therefore, I must push that away, and it's better for me to believe what they're telling me in my mind. So instead of reading the energy, I'm going into my mind. And this was a huge program and wound that I've had to work through over the past, how many years? 4 years or so, where I would, because I lacked the ability to just feel everything that was there, I would like, no, I can't feel that. It's too painful. Let me push it aside. It's too scary, should I say. It's too scary to go there. The thought of losing my support network, right? My whole family structure. So I can't do that. So I'm going to push that aside, which means I'm not the way of presence. Because I'm not willing to receive the energy that they're actually coming from. So if I'm not willing to receive where they're coming from, and I'm not the way of presence, then how can I ever trust myself? How can I trust what I'm feeling when I'm not willing to receive everything that I'm feeling? That was the aha moment that I had this year around the way of presence and the way of trust. And it came through so many different lessons. And it took kind of people coming into my life that I felt certain things and I dismissed it. I would dismiss what I would feel about certain people, and I would just listen to others who I deemed as superior because they were more psychic than me, instead of learning how to trust what it is that I'm receiving. Now, to be able to trust what it is that I'm receiving, I have to first receive it, right? So, and this is where I learned that part of, and I've mentioned this before, they're all kind of fractal pieces of each other, these ways, but part of becoming the way of trust is massively, I have to first be the way of presence. And this is why it's so monumental, is that when we can enter this state of consciousness, and to me what it feels like when I come into presence, like true presence, the way of presence, is it's just expansion. It just feels like a open, flat plane of existence. That's what it feels like to me. That when I come into this place, everything opens up. Everything becomes open. And there's an infinite field of potential. And all I have to do is elevate my consciousness to there. And then in that place, I will receive what it is that I need to receive. And whether that's nothing, okay, that's nothing, or whether it's something. And this is where, like, I've spun out so many times. I don't know how to connect to my soul. I don't know how to connect to my soul. Well, if I'm not even present, if I don't know how to activate that level of my divinity, right, how can I ever get to the next way, which is the way of connection? I can't get there. So I've spent the last year, instead of trying to focus on, like, learning what connection is, I've really been focusing on, because I've obviously achieved certain levels of connection to, varying degrees, goes up and down, right? But I know how to connect to my heart. I know how to connect to my divinity. In terms of my soul's guidance, I've realized I can't receive that if I'm not present. I must first be present within myself, and then I can start to receive the guidance, because it opens the door to receive connection. Right? If I'm resisting receiving, how the heck can I actually receive connection? I can't, right? It doesn't make any sense. We first have to get to a place of being open to receive. And that means be open to feeling the full gamut of human emotion. If I am not ready to feel shame, grief, powerlessness, fear, guilt, anger, all these emotions that we might class as lower, right? If I'm not willing to feel those quote unquote lower emotions, how am I going to arrive at a place of achieving the way of presence and later on the way of connection? You can't. So my advice to you, if you're learning this work and feeling into this way and you're doing this, is learn how to feel everything that's here, but not from a place of getting lost in the feelings. Activate the way of presence, which means I become the detached observer. If you want to learn more about this, Rachel, she is the teacher of these ways. I am just a coach. I'm a student. I'm a student of hers. I'm a student of the ways themselves. And we're currently doing a 20-day, 20-way challenge. Maybe that's why you're here. We're doing it because, well, first off, why the hell not? Why wouldn't you do it? But on Lionsgate 88, we're doing a free activation, like a free workshop. So we would love for you to come join, reserve your spot. There's only, I think, maybe a few hundred more available. So please, go on mastersofselfuniversity.com if you're interested in that, and look for the free 88 activation. So leading up to that, we're working on energetically becoming each universal way of oneness, each enlightened frequency. We're doing that so we can energetically prepare for everything that's going to happen on Lionsgate. What better way to prepare than becoming these enlightened frequencies? So that's my share, and you know, most of what I've learned about the way of presence today. Thank you so much if you've made it this far listening. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about the way of connection number 6. Really powerful way of oneness. So I look forward to being able to share and reflect with you then, and I hope to see you in our Discord community where we're sharing about all of our developments. So if you've not gone on there, please jump in there, and I'll catch you tomorrow for the way of connection.